and recently from Duke. That has been a very nice pick for Najin, but also something that you would think would be great for Trace. So
it's a true point, and the bans once again, 3 GBM champions. Trace can play the Lulu top. I imagine he can also have somewhat of a hand on the game plan, but let's be real, when it comes to Jin Air winning games, 3-0 on the Lulu, 1-0 on the game plan, 2-1 on Twisted Fate. These are all positive win ratio champions for GBM, and lots of respect bans coming through. Is waiting for a last ban. It is Shen as the final ban.
Okay, so the Shen, once again, this will leave up the Victor, this will leave up the Braum, and that is giving Callista to OQ.
Oh boy.
Okie dokie, I don't know if you do that one. That is, I have seen OQ get 8 kills in the laning phase on Callista before.
And that's the thing, is there's people who can play Callista like Pilot, and there's OQ, who is a god tier Callista player. And if there's ever a way to take the shackles off after 2 games of Ashe and 2 losses on Ashe, actually 3 games overall in a row of Ashe, all of them defeats. Of course, the last 2 games it was 1 game of Ashe, the blind pick Ashe against the Coup Tigers into a second loss. So 2 games in a row, 2 losses on Ashe. Now going to be on the lane domain champion, and it feels like Jin Air. Honestly, Che did a great job roaming his cannon, but you have to take the cannon away. Because if you give OQ and Pure purely a 2v2 skirmishing lane, this combo, you will lose this lane.
Yeah, and you can likely lose the game that way too, given the way that they are able to snowball, and they're not going to take it. They're going to grab the Braum and the Evelynn.
Okay, so the Evelynn's the big curiosity because Rek'Sai is still available. If Watch wants to pick it up, and Rek'Sai, of course, has the Tremor Sense to actually have a lot more advanced information about Evelynn's movements than any other jungle choice, so it's strange to see such a high priority on the Evelynn. I feel like the identity of the rest of the draft will really put this together, because they could have denied away the cannon, and they could have just gone for some comfort picks, but they've really highly prioritized Evelynn.
Yeah, that is... certainly it's a strong pick for Chaser, but that Rek'Sai is definitely coming in. Yeah.
It's bread and butter, and control jungler.
Also, we know that Watch likes to play Evelynn, and if you're Chaser, you'd think you could just counterpick him. And I would say, okay, what if there was a Shen available and you took Evelynn Shen, you just get a strong engage combo that way? I want to see what the line of thinking is, because there may be something special here for Jin Air.
It's suspiciously early, Monty.
Yeah, it really
super
is.
Suspiciously, because as you mentioned, Rek'Sai is available. Watch, honestly, was opting into Evelynn versus Rek'Sai for a lot of the earlier season and losing games left, right, and center to other Rek'Sai players. So odd to pick this champion with that available. Maybe it's a last pick choice. Maybe Jin Air's got something amazing for the mid lane, but very, very curious choice, because it doesn't even fit with the general Jin Air identity. This is mostly a poke team. Evelynn all about the all-in. 4 poke champions in an Evelynn. They don't go well together at all.
Well, they are going to take the Ashe away and maybe go for some sort of super hard engage composition with multiple vectors of attack, but I think you grab the Victor right now. It is a safe mid laner. The Azir is banned. GBM, definitely one of his top champions. Oh boy.
Oh boy. If that's locked in, we're only expecting it in mid lane, but Malphite priority makes sense. 3-game loss streak against Malphite for Najin Empire. This has certainly been the tonic champion for them in recent days, because of course, the Summon Bronzodia comp in the blind pick, the Malphite has been super strong against this team, and Duke hasn't really found an answer to deal with it in lane. Of course, did well on the Fiora, but couldn't parlay it into win, or in team fights. They've just really been susceptible to the hard initiate from Malphite.
Very curious. The Thresh also coming in from Najin, so going for a more pick-based champion and not taking the cannon. Of course, Pure is a very good Thresh player, so that's not going to be too terribly much of a concern. It's worth noting that Chaser actually has a losing win rate on Evelynn.
It's so suspicious.
Yeah, what are they planning? Meanwhile, the Maokai, maybe just the ultra tank top lane lock-in here from Duke.
Duke had a really big run of Maokai. This is a player traditionally thought of as a poor user of teleport. He couldn't really put together, and wow, okay. It's going to be the Rise mid for Goong. So blind picking a mid laner goes for the Rise, so not showing a lot of respect for GBM to be able to pressure him in lane. This is opting in, looking for a farm lane if you're going to pick up Rise. And GBM, it's a pretty damn good time. For a lot of champs, it could have been the Yasuo with the Malphite synergy, but
Dude.
it's going to go back to the Trident. The bans once again.
Very curious. Well, Chaser can hit those flanks, and they have so very many engage options, but this basically relies on GVM getting a huge amount of AoE damage off in a team fight, because Ryze will be able to match him in that regard.
It just doesn't really give us a window as to why the Evelynn. Why the Evelynn priority is so hard. There is other engaged junglers. Maybe Evelynn's the most reliable, because if the pink wards are certainly not there, you can come in from interesting angles. But to take it first rotation, still don't really get that one.
I don't get it either. If you were going to go for the Yasuo, you could take the Gragas there instead.
Sure. So the Evelynn pick is the one we were talking about in the pre-game. This was similar to something that CJ were doing, giving Coco no help by Ambition over prioritizing Evelynn, not being able to gank for mid, and not getting Coco, the true carry of the CJ Entus lineup, rolling in a way that was possible. And there's just not a lot of pressure from Evelynn in the mid lane unless someone is super overextended. So Goong confidently blind picks the Ryze, can take the teleport quite happily. He doesn't feel like he even needs the Ghost. And now he's the one that wants to park himself on the blue side in the mid lane and just farm up like GBM was able to do in Gangplank in Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Goong actually, Ryze is one of his better win rate champions. He's 5-2 all-time. OQ 5-1 all-time on the Kalista. Very rarely gets that champion because of how much of a threat he and Pure are in that laning phase. So just on paper right now, you've got the early potential for the kills. With that Thresh Kalista combination, you have a lot of freedom for Watch. He might be able to kill the Malphite in the top side with the Malphite, or with the Maokai root there. And Goong happily scaling into that late game. So I really like the composition from Najin here. See if Jin Air has some sort of answer, if they can actually surprise anybody with this Evelynn pick.
We were wondering about the Thresh priority over the likes of Kennen, which was flashed by Jin Air early in the draft, then not selected in. Let's think about the champions. Obviously, in terms of 2v2, Kalista Thresh not quite as threatening as Kalista Kennen. What can Thresh do? Roam to the mid lane. So they've picked a weak mid laner who has an instant cast CC. We expect Kalista to have the lane pressure just because it's an Ashe lane. If this opens up space for Pure to roam, there is potentially kill pressure onto GBM. Maybe not with the cleanse up, but still, they do have the roaming advantage, what they got out of selecting Thresh rather than the Kennen they were certainly considering.
Well, Jin Air will opt into this 2v2. Not really much information there early on, but taking the expected matchup, and so we get the standard lanes in standard places 2 games in a row, and here comes the cheese. He started red buff at the top side of the map, and now he's going to try for a very fast gank here onto the bottom side.
Pure wasn't having it, didn't take the bait, didn't go in aggressively, but still could be punished.
Now they do know that Chaser started in the top side, so they may be fooled by this, and they're going to go in. There's the flash, and they're trying to get OQ. Will they get the stun down? They're so close. They get the stun. Can they finish off the kill now? OQ back it off, and they're going to get it first blood over here. That was a tricky path by Chaser.
Some vintage tasty cheese for Jin Air.
Well, they had the cheese planned, I guess, so this must have been a specific red side strat. So now we know what the Evelynn was for. Now, could you have done that with a different jungler? Probably.
I'm actually going to say no, Monte Cristo, just because of the nature of how E works, because it double strikes, so it applies, I believe, the passive twice, because it applies on hits. So, from what I understand about that interaction, that was pretty Eve-centric, but hey, look, they really reached for the Eve, and they've made it work with the gank, given just the nature of Eve getting so close to lane with her invisibility, was pretty uniquely suited for.
Right, and this is a specific red side strat.
With Braum, especially.
Yeah, with Braum. Again, not banning it out this time, first picking it on red side. So they baited, I mean, this is a good level of preparation. If we think about what went into that gank right there, it goes all the way back to picks and bans. They leave up Kalista, knowing that Najin will take it. They're on red side. They then select the Braum into it, as well as the Evelynn in the first round of the draft. Those were their primary picks, okay? Then they go to the red buff first. They make sure that Najin knows that they are taking the red buff because Malphite goes to leash and then teleports into the lane. Then they try and walk all the way across the map with Evelynn and commit 3 flashes to getting the first blood onto Pilot. Couldn't have gone better. This was entirely scripted by Jin Air coming into this game.
The E giving attacks, but just meant they were more likely to prop the Winters by, prop the concussive blows, and pick up the kill. So it looked optimistic, specifically when Braum flashed before Evelyn even revealed herself. But they picked up the kill. So look, if you're going to reach for Evelyn that early and make it work, credit to you.
Yeah, absolutely. OQ and Pure were playing pretty passively there too. They weren't taking very many risks. And sometimes you can't deal with that kind of gank path and 3 people flashing on top of you so easily. Is Duke just going to kill him? There's the flash and okay, Trace gets away with that one.
Najin should not be allowed to dive a Malphite. This is the second time we've seen this. First OQ, and now Duke. He just pathed around, and the attack move didn't actually go onto the Malphite, so he lived.
Wow.
Wow.
Questions arise too is, would he be, even if he had gotten that kill, would he have lived?
No.
I don't think so. He had his flash up, but I don't think he was getting out of that one no matter what. So
the Summon Bronzodia comp is about knockups for Yasuo. It's not about brain fades under turrets, but Malphite does tricky things to Najin Empire.
Wow. Well,
that happened.
Yeah, that did happen. Very big mistake from Duke. And, I mean, Chaser was also on that side of the map to clean up in case anything went wrong, so not knowing where that Evelyn is. And they have no wards on Evelyn's camp right now. Basically, Najin is completely in the dark about the enemy jungle.
Not much to say. Jin Air about Foxton. The Evelyn pick paid off in the early gank, and Duke just went far too crazy in the turret dive. It was suspicious that he was doing so well on the turret. It was suspicious that Trace juked forward when he was on about 200 health, but really nicely put together. Baited out the W, flashed under turret, and Duke was at best going to get the 1-for-1.
And I mean, I said it last game, say it again. Trace is really hard to kill in the laning phase. He's not a guy that goes down easy. He will always have several defensive options mapped out in his mind, and he's definitely one of the trickier top laners in this league to dive or to kill in that laning phase, because he will give up almost anything not to die.
That's his MO. He's one of the best players I've ever seen at his turret going down and playing safe and making the best with a bad situation. Now, the criticism of a player like that is that he doesn't make the most when he's winning.
Yeah.
But this guy is the best laner I have seen in this league at getting denied.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It sounds like a backhanded comment, but it is actually.
I mean, if he was on a different team, this is like the story of Jin Air. If they were on different teams, their players might fit. They're very good role players, but they just haven't worked together particularly well.
All right, so we've already said GBM to Najin. Where should Trace go? Who needs a defensive-minded top lane? Because that's the thing, is it doesn't feel like the meta supports a player who can only play that. You look at someone like Marin, where the big criticism was, can you play carry champions? Now he only kind of plays, I want to say off carries, but champions like Fizz, you know, Trinity Force carries. He's not really a Riven player, but is there really a place for a very reliable tank? Which team needs this defensive-minded player? Because one doesn't really jump to mind. Maybe CJ Entus?
They sort of already have one in Shy, though.
Trace is better than Shy.
That's true. That is true. So CJ, I think, would be the most logical place for him, but you're right. There's not really a standout team for this kind of player right now, and GBM just going to straight up steal it with a Death Ray.
He just punked him. Like, there was not even a ward there.
Nope.
Wow.
Line steal. He just used Goong's timing to try and get that Death Ray in, and he made it around first and had the longer range ability.
You know those days where everything just goes your way? He knows one of those days, because it's right now.
GBM's thinking, I woke up on the right side of bed this morning, and there's the Aghanim Embrace coming in. Chaser will get locked down by the Rune Priest. They're going to try and turn this around. Chaser has to flash out as Watch shows up in the mid lane. Maybe a little bit of an over-ambitious gank right there. Probably not going to kill that Rise, just running straight at him.
Let's be fair, we probably would have said the same thing in bot lane if that level 1 gank or level 2 gank had gone awry as well. But you're right, overreaching a little bit as the arrow hits. Yep. 100% hit rate.
So far in this game. So Pilot already reaching the same number of arrows hit as OQ did in the last game.
Oh. Calm down, Monte Cristo.
Hey, it's just statistics, man. Stats can't be mean.
Stats can hurt, you know. Sticks and stones may break my bones, they say, but the words are stinging this time.
So back to the mid lane, Goong running that TP on the rise just to maximize his farm, make sure he can get that tier stacked up as fast as he is able.
I'm getting worried, Monte Cristo. I'm getting worried about teleport mid lanes. I know why people do it, but I don't want to see a meta where both solo lanes take teleport. I really hope that Ignite sticks around because, you know, people would have said, oh, teleport Ignite, whichever one fits your playstyle is fine about top lane teleports a couple of years ago. I hope this is just a fleeting situational thing because, man, double TP is fun, but every game it would get tiring.
Yeah, and also it results in these crazy 5v5 bot lane plays at the drop of a hat, which is somewhat entertaining from time to time, but...
Sure, as an option, as a flex, sure, but if it becomes 4 teleports a game, then some Shens and stuff, I'm gonna lose it.
I don't think it will, Baba Smithy, just because there's always that chance to dive in mid lane. And leaving the mid lane has very real consequences if the other team pushes down that mid lane turret. So it is a little bit riskier than the top lane.
Yeah, this is just a premonition of